Yo, welcome back from leave. We are here. We're finally here. The season finale of From. And man, did this episode deliver. From season 3, episode 10 came swinging like Boyd with a hammer. No time for thinking, just action. From Fatima's demon baby drama to the shocking return of Smiley and his fashion choices. This episode had everything. It had me clutching my pearls one minute and side-eyeing the writers the next. But first, before we dive into this insane episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because trust me, you don't want to miss what we have to uncover this week. I've got some special live streams coming up and you absolutely want to join. Got a theory? Drop it in the comments. Let's figure this nightmare out together. Ready? Let's go. This episode opens with Batman and Nightwing going over the last known whereabouts of Fatima, and Nightwing, being the detective that he is, asks Boyd the perfect question when he asks, "What the F was this woman doing in the shed?" And this makes sense, right? This actually makes sense because Kenny isn't just working with Boyd again blindly. Not after all that stuff Boyd pulled in the past. Let's roll back the clock and remember. Boyd hid the fact that Sarah murked Bingkian. Remember that? Sarah left the door open for the monsters to get into the clinic when Bingkian was in there, and that created the rift between Boyd that lasted all of season 2 and most of season 3. Kind of like Jey Uso reuniting with Roman. He ain't getting punked no more. They gotta be equals. Boyd barely escapes this tough position when Ellis walks in just in time and tells his dad that he thinks Elgin knows where Fatima is being kept. And the game is afoot. We then switch to Fatima in her dungeon. First off, props to her for rocking Uggs in a hostage situation. I see you, queen. Anyway, it looks like she's in the final trimester with the baby poking at the belly, ready to make his way out as she screams in pain. And this visual right here was everything. I've been pretty impressed with the effects all season long, and this right here set the tone for the rest of the episode. We switch back to Ellis, who's pacing to keep his cool because he knows this goon knows where his wife is, and he's trying to do the right thing by bringing it to his dad. Boyd, being the leader that he is, commands everyone in the room and tells them to head up to Colony House and he'll catch up with them later. We then see Ethan looking at his brother Victor coming out of the house, and Victor says that mom fell down, and Jim rushes in chasing after his wife for one of the last times. And look at this moment. Jim gets a warm response from Miranda, and I love this. I love this new Jim. They reconciled last episode, and as a result, Tabitha is not giving Jim stank face when he fawns over her. We then switch back to one of the biggest laughs I had in a while because this dry humor is slapping. Like, I love this stuff. Victor's talking about how he saw the boy in white. Ethan asks him, "Well, what did he say?" And Victor's all like, "He wasn't very helpful." And this boy is cooked. Like, yo, why did the boy in white do my man Victor like that and hit him with the heat last episode? Yo, you know it's bad when you've been roasted so bad, you still feeling salty about it way later. Like, this man was hurt. Victor was probably about to do or say something important because Julie comes and interrupts things just at the right time and grabs Ethan to go to the diner. We switch back to Miranda and Jim, and Tabitha starts telling him about how she's leveled up from a 10 to an 11 and was able to sense Miranda when she saw Victor in the root cellar. And Jim is with it. He's on board. Jim's been chasing his idea of the perfect family for 3 seasons, but he's been trying to force it to be the way he thought it should be. This was his problem. It wasn't until Jim changed and decided to accept his family for the way it is instead of for what he was picturing in his head that they could actually move forward together. Now Tabitha is in a space that she can accept Jim as he's now being more receptive into loving his wife for the person she is rather than just the person she was. And that's kind of beautiful. That's some real clever character development with Jim, and his arc is seemingly coming to an end. We then switch to Jade. You know we miss Jade. And oh snap, Jim comes storming in with some heat, and I peeped how Jade hit him with that snappy F around and find out energy. Jim decided to clear things up a lot faster after hearing that and apologizes for popping off at the mouth last episode.
And I pray that y'all are like, forgive a nigga for like the misstep, and then I can get back to my true path, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The past 2 days felt terrible. Like, it let me know how good I've been sleeping for the past 10 years.
We then switch back to Sarah trying to get God to quiet the evil thoughts when Boyd shows up and summons her to Colony House to try to help to get through the Elgin to help them figure out where Fatima was taken. Donna comes storming out as Boyd is explaining the plan, but she's pissed off that they're holding a black man hostage in her house. We then switch to Jim, Tabitha, and Jade discussing Tabitha's recent visions while drawing an eerie similarity to when we saw Tien-Chen having a similar living room conversation in one of her last big scenes in the series. And that's a really fascinating dichotomy the show is creating here by bookending these two different character moments with a similar setup for their final moments. Jade then starts reminding everyone how smart he is when he helps them figure out that they should probably start at the last place that Tabitha saw the Anghkooey kids. We then switch to Elgin getting caught in his own real-life intervention. Boyd, Donna, Sarah, Ellis, and Kenny all catch Elgin slipping, and they proceed to walk Elgin into Donna's room to talk. He has like a creepy, goofy look on his face with Boyd asking Elgin if he knows where Fatima is. Elgin surprisingly tells the truth when he says, "She told me not to say anything." Now, Donna is the rational one, so she asks Elgin to clarify, with Elgin admitting that he's seeing what he calls an angel. And this angel is promising that Fatima's demon baby is going to save them all. Now, they all try to take turns talking sense into this fool, but Elgin is too far gone and makes his last mistake by bringing up Ellis's wife's body. When Ellis starts putting hands on this motherfucker, finally beat his motherfucking ass, beat his ass. And Ellis ain't really get to do nothing except just give him a little shake when Boyd and Kenny stop this from turning into a Batman interrogation scene. And Ellis is letting these people know one last time that he's done talking. And I almost thought he was going to start swinging when Sarah interrupts things and tells them that Elgin's probably not going to talk. And that's when Batman decides to break his code when he asks Donna for the tools. And I thought this moment was a standout moment while we're watching the character evolution for Boyd. I like this happening because not only have we seen Boyd break to the point that he's no longer the person that he used to be, but also we're going to see how he begins to cross those final lines in this very episode. And it starts right here. And I also like how Boyd is just, at this point giving orders to everyone. And not very surprising, they all just go along with what Boyd is planning and give little to no pushback. Everybody in this room knows why Boyd is going for the tools, but nobody's not saying nothing right now when he heads out and leaves them with orders. And I said this is not very surprising, with the only exception being Donna, who up until now had a very independent streak. But Boyd was there for Donna as this season broke her. So now she's following orders and she's no longer the person that she used to be either. We then switch to Henry seeing Victor at the playground, and Victor admits that he was wrong about Jasper talking, much to all of our dismay, and is starting to prepare Henry to go on this sad side quest that we all know is about to go down. We then switch to Boyd, our resident stressed out leader, channeling his inner Liam Neeson from Taken. He's done playing Mr. Nice Guy and officially joins the By Any Means Necessary club. And he gets a visit from the ghost of Father Khatri. And, Father Khatri's ghost, he just casually pops up like the conscious Boyd didn't ask for. It's given like a Christmas Carol vibe, but with a little extra trauma. Khatri's all like, "You're losing yourself, Boyd." Meanwhile, Boyd's like, "My daughter-in-law is missing. I'll lose myself and these tools if I have to." But Father Khatri does have a point when he highlights that Boyd is playing double standards for Fatima, even though Fatima was in the dang near same situation. And Boyd ain't got time for thinking right now. Fatima is missing. Father Khatri starts to call him out and talks about how there's no coming back for this. And Boyd says one more time that his daughter-in-law is missing. and there ain't no time for thinking. And he takes his tools and he gets ready to go try to solve the problem. We then switch to Fatima pacing in her prison. And if you didn't notice, Fatima was so stressed out, she was about to have her little sippy sip, just to take the edge off. When she comes to her absolute senses, when she takes that jar of demon blood and tosses it against the wall. It's in this moment that she realizes she now has another weapon. We then switch to Jade and Tabitha with their tag-along gym as Tabitha and Christopher try to explain to them how the Anghkooey kids have been overlapping in their dreams. And they finally start putting together the fact that the roots in the tree were created by the 7 Anghkooey kids, and those roots grew into the faraway trees. Man, why couldn't Victor remember this stuff like 10 or 12 episodes ago? It's like Victor's memory works like Wi-Fi. Strong signal for weird graves, 0 bars for anything remotely helpful. Jade is just as frustrated as I am and starts yelling at the sky. Nothing says pissed off more than yelling at the sky. We then switch to Randall, minding his own business, exercising like a Marine, when he hears the cicadas in his head again and marches off. He heads inside where Two-Face asks Marielle and Christy where the equipment is that came in on the ambulance. Nobody is noticing that Marielle is still strangely calm and just tells Randall where to find the gear, despite the fact that the noises mysteriously stopped as he got in Marielle's presence. As soon as he walks away from her, the noise is back. Randall grabs him a defibrillator and gets ready to end it all when we see the return of the word Mabuse. Look, I see it. I caught it. Mabuse. It's there. I'm acknowledging this. Randall warms up the device and barely gets saved in time by Marielle, who jumps in just in time to stop this dude from frying his brain, while simultaneously taking her off my sus list. I can't speak for all of y'all sus list because I know some of y'all still looking at Tilly's dead ass. We then switch to Boyd returning with his tools and tells everyone to stay the F out of his way. Again, we see Donna's in on it as she nods in agreement as this man is about to handle business to save their baby Fatima. And it low-key makes me wonder if Donna and Boyd were married in a previous life.
I know. He's gone on about this for 3 seasons now. I get it. You have a crush on me.
Boyd gets confronted by Kenny, with Kenny doing his last best effort to talk Boyd out of it. And Boyd's telling y'all for the last time, ain't no time for thinking. Boyd heads in the room and sets up shop, with the kimono zombie doing a half-assed effort in saving her goon by sending Boyd a picture. Here she was all last episode assaulting poor Fatima and getting physical with her, but she sends Boyd a picture. Well, Smelgin, I guess you picked the wrong team. Anyway, the picture develops and we see that it's a picture of a house on a lake? We then switch to Victor and his dad climbing up a hill and bringing his dad to the spot where he buried his mom. Oh snap. He gave her a rock for a headstone and tried to make it pretty. Interestingly enough, Victor remembers this place without any hesitation, as opposed to that important stuff from a few episodes ago. I know, I'm picking on the writing, but man, that was frustrated. Henry has a moment when he sees the headstone, and Victor even goes a little further to point out another headstone. And Henry asks, "Is that Eloise?" And Victor, my guy, we need to talk, right? You remember everything when it's inconvenient, but suddenly hits us with the, "I think so," about Eloise's grave? Bro, what? What? Yo, this is not a Magic 8-Ball moment. And then he goes on a guilt trip about his family like he's auditioning for a Nicholas Sparks movie. But I'll give him credit for one thing. His awkward charm hits harder than the boy in white's cryptic nonsense. Like, how is it that the kid in a white suit still can't come through with actionable advice? Come on, get it together, Casper. Anyway, Victor said all he found were pieces. So technically, that could have been any little girl buried there. Victor's spotty memory is a big plot device this season that I'm sure will have an impact on future seasons of the show. I think so? Man, I think Eloise is out there. I think she's out there somewhere alive. Hell, she might even be closer than we think. Victor then starts to have a pity party about how his family getting murked is his fault, and Henry, being the level-headed adult that he is, when he's sober, consoles him, letting him know that it wasn't. He even gives a heartwarming, "It's my job to protect you now." And I'm not crying. P.S. Yo, in the future, I need to see Tabitha visit Miranda's grave. Just throwing that out there. We then switch to Tabitha Jim violating Victor's personal space while investigating the drawings in his peach truck. They're also trying to figure out what the numbers mean from the bottle tree. Jade once again echoes our Reddit and Discord theories on what the numbers might mean by pointing out all the different mathematical and astrological ways he's tried to interpret these numbers. I like how the writers are poking fun at us here with our theories. They absolutely are. For those who don't get it, this is a classic example of meta commentary. Jim makes the final freaking breakthrough when he realizes that the numbers are musical notes. And look at that. All Jim had to do was try to help. And not only does he get the accolade he deserves for figuring it out, he even re-earns his loving nickname of Teacup. They head off to get Victor's violin and prepare to try to figure out the order of the notes. We then switch to Christy and Marielle, who are trying to figure out what to do with Randall after he tried to lobotomize himself. Christy finally asked the question we've all been asking, and asking Marielle, what the F is she going through that we don't know about? And she finally admits that something is wrong. She doesn't tell us what, because what kind of show would From be if it answered a simple question, and the scene just kind of ends there. We then switch back to Boyd being a good father and working on getting those answers out of Elgin. Boyd shares that the picture that developed was a picture of a house that he bought to retire in with his wife, and it was the same house he was headed to when he saw that freaking tree. Elgin's goofy ass still thinks the kimono lady is offering to help them get home if they wait. And Boyd and me are done talking. What's really interesting is that in this moment, the ghost of Father Khatri appears to witness, and man, oh man, I can't figure this ghost out. Sometimes I think this ghost is a manifestation of one of the entities at play and they're messing with the residents in order to distract and dissuade them. But there are other times when these things appear and they legit seem like they're expressing themselves as the consciousness of the people they're visiting. Tom appeared to Jade to convince him to stop drinking. Abby appeared to Boyd and warned him that destroying the music box would make things worse. Now Father Khatri is saying that if Boyd does this, then there's no coming back from this. And he's not wrong. You know what I mean? Like, doing this will forever change the way that Boyd is viewed by the residents. He's no longer going to be the loving, ever vigilant protector. And instead, this is going to change their views of him closer to what Dale described before he went swimming in the wall, as something closer to a dictator. Boyd is already walking the moral gray area by keeping secrets from those close to him, but downright torturing a resident in order to save Tilly's murderer is a whole new level of effed up. But then again, Elgin is already effed around and now he needs to find out. Things get mildly gory until Acosta shows up and starts bringing morals into the conversation for some reason. We then switch back to Miranda and Christopher looking over the notes, trying to figure out the melody, when out of nowhere, Christopher just outright remembers. He doesn't even need no notes, he just knows. Jim starts making some sense when he reminds them that, we are in Fromtown and, everything about this place is trying to hurt us, so, maybe not playing this magical song that just popped in your head is a good idea, right? Maybe save that for later. Tabitha recommends they go play it by the tree, where it's at least a safer distance from the town. We then switch to Fatima, who's getting ready to perform some street surgery and give herself a ghetto C-section, when the kimono zombie confirms that she appears whenever she actually wants to. So Elgin. She puts the blade to Fatima's throat and tells her that she's about to give birth, and then we see her water break. Ew. We then switch to Julie and Ethan, and everybody pull up a mother flood fucking chair because Ethan is engaged. My little guy is out here explaining things to us and giving us answers to questions from like 2 episodes ago. Just 2. Remember when we were all asking how does Julie's time traveling work? Well, listen carefully. Ethan starts talking to Julie about how he's starting to forget things, which is a whole nother thing we need to chat about later, but Julie tells Ethan about her time traveling, and Ethan, without even blinking, accepts all of the seemingly bizarre things that Julie is saying. And not only does this guy accept it, he drops a mother flood pucking knowledge. He explains to Julie that she's something called a story walker. He goes further on to explain that as a story walker, Julie has the ability to visit chapters of the story that have already happened. She can visit the chapters, but she can't change them. No one can change a story once it's been told. That's right, folks. She's like a Netflix viewer on her mom's account. No edits allowed. And OMG answers. Answers! Do you feel that? Or do you think that it still wasn't enough? I feel like that was a huge one because up until this point, we had no idea what or how Julie's new superpowers worked. She can visit the past. But this raises the question of what came first, right? We already have seen something of a time paradox in this show with Julie, remember? We finally saw who threw the rope to Boyd at the bottom of the well. My thing is that when you actually think about it, Julie was able to throw Boyd the rope because he brought back the worms he got from Martin, which in turn ended up infecting the Cicada 3. But if Boyd never climbed out of that well, then he would have never gotten the worms to infect Julie with that gave her her superpowers in the first place. That's a mother flood pucking time paradox. We're going to talk about this more, maybe in the live stream. We then switch back to Guantanamo Bay, where the authorities are there discussing their aggressive interrogation. And that's when we see, without a shadow of a doubt, that Sarah is a mother flood pucking problem. No, she's a monster. Sarah heads upstairs to, just to talk to Elgin, one-on-one. And his dumbass actually thought for a second that things were about to get better. And this is when Elgin enters into his very own episode of
When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong.
Look, I know I use the phrase F around and find out a lot, but Sarah is levels above the others when it comes to the find out part. I'm not a big gore person, so I'm going to skip ahead a bit and just say that Sarah got the answers, but Elgin lost an eye. Ugh. We then switch to Tabitha and Jade standing outside the bottle tree and playing the song on the violin. And man, this song right here. The show does a little bit of a montage of us flipping back and forth between Boyd, Ellis, and Kenny racing to save Fatima while the kimono zombie lady is performing the most ratchet job I've ever seen as a midwife with her own DIY demon delivery. Seriously, Fatima could have done a better job herself with a butter knife. What's interesting is while she's pulling out the baby, the door for the cellar thing underneath opens up. And then after the baby comes out, the kimono zombie takes the mass of flesh underground. And I don't know if it's worth noting, but that effing door opened up by itself. Okay? By itself. The Bat family is just in time to be too late. And the zombie lady is gone. But Fatima's alive? Shoot, after all that mess, Fatima deserves a spa day and then some. Someone call Gwyneth Paltrow. This woman needs goop level self-care. But it's interesting because Elgin said she wasn't going to get hurt, and doggone it, he was actually kind of right. Anyway, the hidden door is still open, and Boyd, knowing he already effed up, is willing to make the sacrifice play to go down there and see what the F is going on. As Boyd is heading down, we see that Jade and Tabitha are getting a visit from the Anghkooey kids. And there's a lot of them. There's like 4 of these little dirt babies, with one of them approaching Tabitha, and dang, it don't seem like Jim can see though. We flash back again to the root cellar, Boyd following the kimono lady into the caves, and Fatima drops us with more answers. More mother flood pucking answers. Fatima shares that the monsters are the parents of the kids that were sacrificed because something or someone promised them that they would live forever. The F? And then we see the kimono lady place the flesh bag on the floor, and that mother flood pucking thing grows into a grown-ass man. And we get the shocking return. Oh my gosh, Smiley. Holy crap, the alpha is back and showing ass crack, but he's back. I did not see this coming. How did this happen? Did the cicada monster impregnate Fatima? How did he do that? I immediately started thinking about when Boyd gave Elgin that blood transfusion and whether or not Boyd's blood is truly free of infection from the cicada monster. I mean, my guy does still look younger every episode. How did Smiley... Yo!
But wait! There's more!
We switch back to Tabitha, who finally stops running, scared from the Anghkooey, and... Wait a minute, does Jim see the Anghkooey kid? Did he? Because he kind of turned his head before Tabitha kneeled as if he was reacting to the garbage girl kneeling first. And then this little girl says Anghkooey one more time, and Tabitha finally speaks Pokemon, with her and Jade seemingly experiencing a flood of memories and Tabitha walking off in shock. Jade briefly mentions that they tried to save them, and they used to sing to them lullabies. Jim gives chase to Tabitha, and he wants answers. That's when Tabitha drops the bomb that, against everybody's theories, Tabitha is Miranda. And Jade is Christopher. They keep coming back because they failed to save the children the first time. And that Tabitha and Jade were there in the beginning and tried to set the children free because one of them was their daughter. That's why Tabitha kept making the bracelet over and over again. That's why Henry had one in his car. And oh snap, Tabitha has like 3 husbands. But we ain't got time for that. Jim walks off to clear his head and ends up near the turned over RV, which seems surprisingly close to the bottle tree when, oh snap, things get real. Jim is sitting there processing his thoughts when out of nowhere, we hear and see Julie coming running from out of the woods. But Julie looks different. She actually kind of has a major glow up with a new cute hairstyle, some seemingly darker hair, and a new outfit. She comes frantically running up to Jim, begging him to run and to get to town right now. But Jim is more concerned about who the F scratched his daughter's face. Julie blurts out something about how she needs to change the story. And holy crap, this is a Julie from the future. This girl is showing up looking like she just survived the Hunger Games, scratches on her face and all. And she's trying to change a canon event. But that ain't about to happen when we see Martin. I mean, the mother flood pucking man in yellow that everybody's gonna call Martin anyway. The friggin' man in yellow strolls in looking like a haunted mannequin from a Wild West museum. He's not selling insurance, he's collecting it. And the man in yellow starts talking smack. This didn't have to happen, and knowledge comes at a cost. And then he drops the line, I did try to warn you, before he, yokes Jim up and goes, your wife shouldn't have dug that hole, Jim. Before he rips Jim's mother flood pucking throat. Holy, ow! End credits. Great googly moogly. Oh. Just started liking Jim again. Yeah, but wait, hold on. We got another answer. We know whose voice that was on the radio, but holy crap, at what cost? All right, so let's recap the chaos that was this finale. Sarah took the fall for Boyd. That was a bold move. He was already cooked after hammering Elgin's hand a few times, but it feels like none of that is really going to matter in the grand scheme of things after she took his eye. Fatima survived her DIY horror story, and she's earned icon status. Why did the monster make her take out Tilly, though? Was it like when they took out Toby or Father Kadri so that they took a player off the board? Or was Tilly just really in the wrong place at the wrong time after she pissed this place off with her tarot cards? Also, is Ethan forgetting things? It seems like he's hinting that he's forgetting things. Am I the only one who noticed that? What's with this place affecting the memories of children? Victor's memory is trash, but now it looks like it's also happening to Ethan. And Jim, man, he finally gets his redemption arc, only for the man in yellow to throat rip him into the afterlife. It's like the writer said, "Oh, you like Jim now?" That's cute. But Jim's mother being a musician was critical for them to figure out the mystery. Everyone is playing a part in understanding this place, and I can't wait to see the day that everyone sits down at a table and works together. And Julie's future self drops some wild reveals. She's like a Netflix user stuck on someone else's account. She can watch the past, but she can't skip or rewind. Her big attempt to change the story? Sorry, dear, this is a canon event, so not today. Now we're left spiraling. What's the deal with these monsters sacrificing their kids? It at least gives us an idea of why Jade saw the colonial dude drinking blood from a child's skull, but why are lullabies suddenly a plot point? And who's paying for therapy in Fromtown? And what was that creature outside the settlement? And why do we have scarecrows? The finale gave us answers, sure, but it also slammed us with new questions that'll keep us theorizing into season 4. So drop your takes in the comments. Are we pro Smiley skincare routine, or does the dude need a charcoal mask that? And lastly, why doesn't the whole series move at this pace? Why doesn't it move at the pace of the finales? This is the pace that I like. Move like this every episode. I understand wanting to do character development, but I feel like I've seen a lot of shows that do character development and also move at a faster pace. Go watch The Penguin. This episode gave us so much, but it also left us with questions that'll keep us spiraling. Anyway, that's it for this week's breakdown of From Season 3, Episode 10. I'm going to talk more about this during the deep dive live, so I hope to see you guys there. If you've got theories or just want to rant about Smiley's skincare routine, drop them in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and let's keep unraveling this nightmare together. Until next time, keep asking questions. But not too many, or the kimono zombie might show up at your door. Peace.